So this will be the other method before I go into how to carve. I just thought I'd show you. This is pretty much all the way polished up. One of the things you'll notice when you're carving is down in the recesses you might see these little white flecks that you just can't get out. Don't get too hung up on those. You want to get as much out as you can, but if they still hold a little bit of that sort of lighter colored stuff down in the holes, don't get too hung up on that. So this one here, I've decided I'm going to do like a cat laying on your finger. So I've sort of just drawn in the basic shape of like the cat's head, its legs here from one side, then from the top. I've kind of got the shape of the head here and the body, a lump out for the tail. And then I think I'm going to have the tail go all the way around, wrap over to the legs here. I've just put a little indicator of where the legs might start to separate. So these are just going to be reference points for me. There are other ways that you can transfer your design on. You can scribe it in. You could draw it out and put it on with rubber cement. There's plenty of different ways to do it. So the way I'm going to start, remember the inside of this ring is finished, so I'm going to stay away from it. I'm just going to start rough cutting out this basic shape. And I can't really do that over here because I got to do some carving. I can take a little away. But I'm going to kind of rough out. I don't even know if I want to use my saw. I think I'm going to just file all this. I can kind of take a little here. Looks pretty obvious that's going to come out. It looks like right here a little bit will come out. So I'm going to just kind of take off the chunks I know I'm going to take out here. So this is where I'm going to sort of start to develop the head. So I'm going to just kind of chunk off the shape there. And then this might be come off a little bit, but I don't want to go too far because there's a tail here. So I'm going to chunk some of this out here. Take that part off. Maybe a little bit here for that same situation. Take a little bit off there. I'm just going to do the first sort of chunk in with my saw, these first bits, and then yeah, there's going to be something right here because there's going to be some ears or something there. Alright, and then I think it's going to be, let me see right here, take a little bit off here as I start to put the chunk of the head in. So that is very chunked out, but now I think I'm going to be filing for the remainder of this. And I'm going to start off just with a half round file and just start chunking things out in their approximate space. So I think there's a head here. It's pretty clear there's a head there. And then maybe I need the saw to put that line for where the legs are going to go, just to help me know where I'm at. I'm not necessarily cutting through here, I'm just marking where those legs would go. Right in there. And over here, that's a tail, so that one's going to be a little bit crazier. Maybe I can start. Nah, I don't want to do that with the saw. So, let's see, let's start here. I think I need to take a bunch off just to get the legs to about the right size. So I'm going to start filing a bunch away here. So I'm making the legs sort of where they belong, but it's got to go way in so the head can stick out. So I'm going to start really removing some material now. So I'm starting to see this head start to form on this cat. So it's starting to come out here. There's a little bit of the head starting to come out there. And then I'm going to start rounding this off because cats aren't square. So I'll round that one off here. And then starting to round out like a kitty. I'm going to round more off there. I'll flip it everywhere around here. It's thinner in the middle. It's a cat. I'm starting to chunk out the shape of that body there a little bit. Let's go ahead and start bringing a little bit of recognition of the head separation here. A little more of that. Real undercut. So now we're getting a little more cat shape going on there. So I've got the, across the top, I kind of got the shoulders and the hips and the tail going there. So I'm gonna start to round that out, see if I like that as the actual line. Definitely need to get some back here. More ears. This kitty's got a pretty flat face. I gotta figure out what to do about that. So I'm gonna take that back quite a bit. Right there, right there. So if that starts to create some cat face planes, it does a little. So I'm starting to chunk the head out, and then feels like maybe I need to start thinking about this right here. This is the tricky part because I'm gonna keep that tail, but I also want to make a cat up here on the surface. So it's starting to chop that tail. This is the part that's going to get tricky. Trying to get that tail in there. So now I'm going to start scraping. Start to define that space where I'm going to have that tail sort of working all the way down this edge. So I put a nice dark thick line right there. I'll start to establish where that's going to happen. I'm not going to go too far with that before I get confused. And now I need to sort of take out up to that edge without taking that part out. So I'm going to kind of chunk away from the edge first so that I don't accidentally take out the part I don't want to take out with my file. So I'm just sort of chunking this part away. Let's see if you can see that motion. Just kind of going up to that edge and just peeling it off. And I'll file that stuff once I get that edge pretty well established. Scrape some of that back this way. So, I have to have a little line there. Alright, so that whole section right there needs to be filed. So I'm going to do something else a little bit. There we go. Just square file so I can get that edge. Starting to work. Yep, that'll start to work. All right. Then I'm going to smooth this out with a file if I can get in there with one. Start of take some of that away that I had scraped out, just kind of cleaning that up. So I got that tail. And let's get that, start to put those legs in there. So I just kind of bounce around to whatever feels like that's the right part for me to be working on. I don't have a method or an order at which I do this. So get those legs established. Start going over here a little bit more. Starting to get some kitty shape to it. So I'm starting to file in, and it looks like it towards the finished part, but I'm really not going to hit that finished part. I'm just removing material here so I can round out this form and make it look a little bit more like the shape of a cat. So cats don't end on square edges. And I'm going to start to establish this back leg a little more here. starting to look like a kitty. Got a tail situation here. I think I started the tail up a little too high. I think I can take some of this off. Now, I'll round this tail off right here. So that's going to be the tail. There we go. That's a little too defined there. I think I'm going to take some of that back. I over-defined the tail there, I think. There we go. And then I'll start working back in here to get that part of the tail going. That's what's going to get tricky. You gotta make the tail at the top of the leg there a little bit. The way I've done this. I've been going at this for about 11 minutes here. I think I'm going to take a little pause on this and work on it without being on the camera, and then come back when I'm at a more interesting phase, I suppose.